of my lives is as a professor at York University, and in that side of my life, like Jack, I do research, do research on cooperatives, and had wonderful opportunities to collaborate with Jack on some research projects, one of which gave life to one of the cooperatives I'm going to talk about. Like Jack, as a professor, I teach, and we're able to sometimes smuggle cooperatives into our teaching. But somehow, in thinking about cooperatives and engagement with students, there's another aspect of life in education, and that actually involves working in cooperatives and a different type of education. Is this going automatically? So that you want to get there that quickly? Okay. So I tried to talk about this in terms of the theme that we had here, democracy in everyday life. I'll do that. So we set up a cooperative called the Green Campus Cooperative because it relates to my research, it relates to the teaching, but it also relates to demands we had from students who wanted to, is that on automatic there? Because students want certain services. And one of the things we're hearing from students is they want more sustainable products on campus. They want better food and other things. And we thought that's very important for ourselves as well, because if we're not sustainable pretty soon, we're not going to be around that much longer. So hence the green and the Green Campus Cooperative. I'm located on a university, you're located on a university, so we wanted to talk about campus cooperative. And one of the things with student cooperatives is they're not always campus cooperatives. They often exist on the margins of campuses. They're not always integrated into campus life. Sometimes they have tense relationships with universities. They're sometimes appreciated, sometimes not so much appreciated. So we wanted to see ourselves as part of the university, and especially that mission of education. So I can teach courses on cooperatives and things, but a lot of what we hear about education is experiential education. So those of you who are from Waterloo know about co-op programs, but that's not the co-op programs. Those co-op programs don't have anything to do with cooperatives, right? So you have experiential education programs where you send people out to work in traditional businesses, and they call them co-op programs for some reason. But we don't actually have cooperative co-op programs. So we're trying to figure out how we get students the experience of actually working in a cooperative. And so we're really trying to deal with students not just as consumers of housing products. And I know in student cooperatives you don't just do that, you have broader interests, as Chris was talking about. But we wanted to engage them as students in their areas of interest and in their career aspirations where they actually might want to be working and developing co-ops later and learning about cooperatives as students as well. So we've got that sort of concern they have about general sustainability in products, but also how do we create cooperative entrepreneurs and cooperative managers, right? And inform students more generally about participating in cooperatives. So that's our mission, which is a little bit different than most student cooperatives, because we're trying to embed ourselves in the very mission of the university, which also talks about sustainability and experiential education and social justice, right? So that's what we try to do. So we have a board that's faculty and students. We don't have one-year terms, we have 3-year terms to give us continuity, so a third gets elected every year. We have standing committees that everybody else does. But we are also engaged in other areas as a business, so business networks, as researchers, because we do research, and not just faculty, but students do research as well. And we engage them in that, and advocates and networks. So one of the major areas we get involved in around all those things is fair trade. And fair trade is about cooperatives because at the base of fair trade are producer cooperatives, whether they're growing coffee or cocoa and things. And now fair trade has developed basically purchasing policies. So there's fair trade towns, fair trade universities, fair trade schools, and they say they're going to commit themselves to buying fair trade products, which are basically cooperative products, right? And so we advocate in that. One of our board members is on the board of Fair Trade Canada, and she sits there with a board member from La Siembra Cooperative and Planet Bean Cooperative. So as cooperatives, we're also working out there in public policy and national organizations, right? But again, also research and development are things that we do. So I'm going to talk about two cooperatives that we've developed. One is the Green Campus Cooperative, and this is basically a brand that we've developed to sell cotton garments, right? Nobody else in Canada will sell you what we sell you, and we sell fair trade. We sell t-shirts, we sell polo shirts, nice little tag there, tells you it's fair trade and organic cotton. And our products are produced by, cotton comes from a democratically controlled cooperative, right? Our sewing does not. We've been trying to find cooperative garment manufacturers. That's a challenge. Instead, we had resort to Franciscan nuns. And the Franciscan nuns own a sewing factory to provide employment for the graduates of their high schools, women with disabilities, who otherwise don't have employment opportunities. Not a cooperative, but still a pretty good story, right? Just some pictures for you to see. So that's one type of co-op we've developed. Another cooperative which we've just developed is a slightly different model, because that co-op we run by ourselves. Another co-op we've developed is sort of like a multi-stakeholder cooperative. Now, formally in Ontario, we don't have multi-stakeholder co-op legislation, so we have to, like the West End Food Co-op is a multi-stakeholder cooperative through its bylaws, but formally it's not because we don't have that legislation. So another need that we heard from people at York is we don't have a place for graduate students or faculty members. The University of Toronto has an incredible faculty club, huge, old, wonderful services. We don't have that at York. We used to have one, it died years ago. We didn't have a grad pub. We used to, it died, it didn't know how to sustain itself. All sorts of organizational problems dealing on university campuses. So what we did, we said, we need a different business model here. We need to bring those graduate students together who want their pub with those faculty members who also want some sort of faculty club. And so we set up a cooperative in which those are corporate members along with us, because we thought we knew how to set up a business in ways that they couldn't do. So we've been sort of providing more of the entrepreneurial input, and what they can do is provide their members and capital and leverage with the university, because they're key actors in the university, right? And so they can make the university respond in ways which we as a small cooperative can't. And so we have these corporate members, and then we have individual members who are faculty members and graduate students and staff and others, right? So it's much more inclusive in different ways. And again, a standard mission, we're providing food and beverages for our members, but also a place for them to interact. But in there, we also have incorporated promoting experiential education. So we have courses that students can take, placement courses, and they can get course credit for working with us, doing marketing. We have a marketing committee, our sustainability committees, so working at on our supply chains, right? So different things that they can do and work for us and employ The skills, we get students from communication studies who can help us with our social media, because that's a huge part of marketing, right? So we have that, and then we have the sort of sustainability side of things as well. So we only do 100% fair trade in organic coffees and teas, right? We source locally, right? And so that gets to our supply chain, and someone's asking how cooperatives can cooperate. Well, our bank is a cooperative. Our insurance company is a cooperative. We get all our coffee from Planet Bean, a worker cooperative. We get all our sugar and chocolate from La Siembra, a worker cooperative. Those of you from Waterloo might have been to TWB, Together We're Bitter, a worker cooperative brewery. We also get beer from London Brewery Cooperative. We've been working with the West End Food Cooperative. One of our graduate students is on the board of there. We talk with them about things. So we have all sorts of ways to reinforce each other, to support each other, to learn from each other. An earlier question, how do we learn from each other as well? So we're really developing, and maybe we will talk to this about the GT co-op network, because how do we work together? Talking is important, doing business together is also very important, right? How do we mutually support each other? Oh, I can just see, that's our chef, whoops. It's not going to where I want it to go anymore. Whoops, okay, there's a part of our board, one person on our board. Oops. Now we've gone to other places where I didn't want to go. There we go. So, here's the key point. Because as an academic, I have to come back to models and understandings of things. A lot of development that happens can happen through cooperatives. In Western Canada, large movements we saw, it was farmers organizing. And farmers would set up marketing cooperatives, but they'd also set up supply cooperatives, they'd set up financial cooperatives, they'd get organized into political parties. We see that in the East Coast with the Antigonish movement as well. We see that in Quebec. Even now, in contemporary times, we talk about what we call place-based entrepreneurship, where we try to get local communities to organize based upon their local resources, which are not just physical, natural, but they're also intellectual and social capital. Their willingness, desire to make those communities work because they live there and they don't want all their youth to go away and leave, right? So that's one type of place-based entrepreneurship, and cooperatives are business. They need entrepreneurs, people with ideas who can make them work. And so what we've been trying to do is see how can universities' campuses be this site of place-based entrepreneurship? What are the resources that we have? What are the communities that we have? So when we look at universities, they're public institutions. They have a lot of the same values we do as cooperatives. They're supposed to be democratically controlled, right? You won't find a university in Canada that doesn't talk about working with its local community, right? Relationships with community. They all talk about sustainability as well. Our values are very much entwined, right? And historically, cooperatives have been involved through land grant universities and things for a long time. And what we're able to do on universities potentially is leverage the resources that they have, right? So when we set up our cafe and pub, we leveraged other organizations, our unions, to get involved with us, right? We can leverage all the research funds. The t-shirt and garment program that we set, we were working on a larger research grant that Jack had, and we had a small project on that, on how you start up fair trade products. And so we learned about cotton garments. How can we develop supply chains? We have students working on different research projects that we have. There's a lot of human capital there, right? We haven't worked as closely with some of our student organizations, some we do, but with our student unions. We work with faculties and departments. They all buy things. We're getting all our catering done. All of the departments want to cater with us because we have sustainable food, but also their members are our members as well. So this is sort of the bigger point I want to say is we have this capacity on universities to do really, really important things in terms of co-op development. And it's not just on individual campuses, it also can be between campuses, right? So with our Fair Trade Network, we're also connected through Fair Trade universities. Next Monday, I'm going to speak to 6 Catholic schools because they are Fair Trade schools. They want to work together with us as well. And we're also working down our supply chains as well, right? Locally, into our communities, but even internationally, to India, to Peru, to all sorts of different places. So we are at really important interstices of institutions, and we can do some really, really interesting things if we cooperate. And I'll also sell you t-shirts if you want.